On today's Starting Nine, Jake and Carl get in their inaugural trip to the College World Series, including Jake's college coach makes it for Texas A&M. It was a bad weekend of eating and it was a bad weekend of baseball for a lot of teams. Colin bought a leg sauna. We're going to get into what that means. We've got awards, dude, bag, and a new one, musical genre, including standings updates. We're going to do a shout-out to an old sailor, an old right-handed pitcher, and, of course, there's going to be a mailbag. Guys, it's a great day to have a great Starting Nine. Let's jump into it. Action, and welcome back to Starting Nine. It is Carl here in Chicago. I got my guy Jake looking ripe and robust in Austin, Texas, and obviously Colin Cooper in New York. Boys, it's been too long.
You know, on a Monday, it's always like, it feels like we haven't done a show in 3 weeks, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just so good to see your faces again. How was the weekend for you guys?
Okay, so I went on a bender on the golf course. Not your traditional Carl bender. This was more of just a 7-iron, 8-iron feel the swing, kind of get loose. Also, I don't know if you saw this, the Cubs got outscored 28-5.
Yeah,
by the Yankees
definitely
this
did.
Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been a little bit better here, but Jake, you look a little chubby.
Well, you're lying. Thursday, I did eat a lot. I ate a lot. Thursday, we go out to the property in Fredericksburg. We check it out. We had a nice day out there. It was me, Brittany, and the kids. We met with a guy who's doing work on the property, fixing the roads, making it look real nice. And we're having trouble with this hunting cabin, though. 960 square feet, maybe 970. We got quoted at $200,000 for the demo and the remodel, which is way too high. We have the concrete foundation, which we don't need any more concrete. We're gonna maintain one of the stone walls, and then it's just putting up the metal siding, insulation, and some bullshit inside. It's like, come on, man, $200,000 is too much. And I don't know if people are just like, well, these guys have money or whatever, and they'll just say, yep, go ahead and do it. No, I still value $1, so we're trying to figure out another route, but we want somewhere to stay. So we want to get this thing done. So Thursday night, I think we had Whataburger. Friday, I had in College Station after the walk-off win. Congratulations to Texas A&M for being the first to punch their ticket to the College World Series. We had McDonald's at like midnight, me, Cooper, and his buddy Carter. And then Saturday was a mess. I'll remember what happened Saturday. But Sunday I had P. Terry's, which is the best of the three, but it's still, I had 2 triple cheeseburgers and 2 large orders of fries.
You had 6 patties?
6 patties, yeah. Because I'd rather do 6 patties on 2, than have 3 doubles. Mm-hmm. We'll just cut out a little bit of the bread. But man, P. Terry's is, I don't know, have you guys had P. Terry's?
Nope, never even heard of it, to be honest with you.
Okay, I don't know if it's up. I don't know if that's up in the area. You've had Five Guys though. Mm-hmm. Is Five Guys high on your list?
It's good. It's very good.
Well, while we're talking about this, give me your top 2 or 3, because I think Five Guys, In-N-Out's good. But Five Guys, I think, is my number 1.
I'm right there with you.
And P. Terry's, okay, I love to hear you say that, Colin. P. Terry's, to me, slides in just above In-N-Out, right below Five Guys.
See, I have a couple local spots that I absolutely love and adore. And
but those don't count. Those don't count.
I know. So if those don't count, then, yeah, Five Guys is a Tier 1 burger.
It really is. And the way that they cut the fries, they just throw the whole potato in there and just wham, straight into the oil. It's so good. So, yeah, I had a rough weekend of food, but I feel good about it. I felt like I deserved it. What I felt less great about is just the amount of like White Claws and seltzers that I'm capable of drinking. It's pretty absurd. It should be illegal to drink that many in a single day. But we're on the boat in the sun.
Let's talk. No, I want to talk seltzers because you bring them up, and that's a hot topic for a lot of people out here. Seltzers, that's a dangerous category. And to your point, because you get going, I heard you say a boat, once the sun gets out, it's hot, you get a lather. You're into the point where like those become refreshments. And I mean, not just refreshments like, I'll have a couple refreshments. I mean, those literally a seltzer very quickly becomes a refreshing thing. And that's where it gets dangerous.
Well, it feels like a in workout, like in competition, like hydrator at a certain point. Like if you feel like you're actually quenching your thirst and hydrating yourself, and then 22 later, you're like, I have a mild headache, and I wonder why.
Yeah,
but they're so good. And then, not that I'm like, we're sponsored by White Claw, but they came out with this new one. It's like White Claw Surf. And I just saw it. I'm like, I have to get it. And they do it at the right time. It's like you kind of get tired of the old flavors, and then bam, they hit you with a new 12-pack, and you drink 2 of them, 2 12-packs.
Yeah. So that big run on high noon flavors too, and just kind of getting loose with those. I know, Colin, that's your demographic. Big, you guys love the seltzers. That's something that just creeped up on the late 20s. I mean, you guys really put seltzers in business, Colin. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'd congratulate Dave Portnoy too for really putting High Noon on the map.
High Noon's great, and it actually has vodka in it, doesn't it? Those are the ones with real vodka or real like liquor instead of the seltzers. I go back and forth. There's one in Austin, a local company called Austin Cocktail. So it's tequila. They have a margarita one, which is like with tequila. They have one that's ruby red grapefruit with vodka, and those are dangerous. They're smaller than the White Claw cans, and it's 2 cocktails in 1 can. So you have like 3 or 4, and you're like, oh, I've only had 3, but you really have had 6. So it's like you got to find the right balance. Like have a seltzer, then have an Austin cocktail or a High Noon. Because if you're just smashing those High Noons or the Austin cocktails, it might be night pretty early for you.
Yeah, amen to that. Brings me back to the days drinking Ice House in high school. There's warm Ice House in somebody's alley. Those are good days. We had a big purchase over the weekend too on the podcast. I don't know if you saw the text going out late last night, but our man Colin made a very serious investment.
Yeah, I did see, and I love that you call it a leg sauna. Is that what it actually is?
Wait,
who?
Can you show a picture of this for YouTube? Can you show a picture for YouTube?
If you can, you gotta.
If you're an athlete like Jake, then you had to have used these at some point. And I think they might be like newer on the scene. But so my cousin has one that I used last summer when we were out in Cape Cod, and his is like a $1,500 one. So it's like legit, and it's incredible. It basically just compresses tight air into your legs and squeezes your muscle, which allows like the blood to flow better and stuff like that. And I do a ton of walking, like hiking, all that. So it's really good. But this one heats as well. So the added heat effect is just incredible. So you do it, you sit there, your feet up, and it's like a 20-minute session, and it's great. You guys got to get one.
I'll look into it, but now, I mean, it's 105 degrees here. The last thing I want is hot feet. I do not want hot feet right now. Maybe in December.
It's not like hot. It's like a soothing warmth. Like
okay.
It's like getting treatment basically.
Okay, so it could be used like for kind of a near bedtime thing to soothe you and put you to sleep.
If you don't want to put the heat on, you don't have to put the heat on.
All right, so like you could just use the compression. All right. Well, I'll consider it. Maybe. Carl, would you use the foot sauna?
Yeah, no, I ordered it last night, so foot sauna review.
Let's go, baby.
That's how we do things here on Starting 9. I see Colin gets into the foot sauna game. I'm not going to let him be the only one.
Well, hey, how excited are you for Omaha? Let's talk. We got to talk Omaha for a little bit.
Yeah, this is on our opening the opening roster. The last thing I hear for this is our first time vacationing together. Basically.
Yeah, this basically is a vacation. I have to coach these 10-year-olds and coach them to a ring, help lead them to victory. It's going to be a 32-team tournament, I believe. I think it's like 200 teams total from all different age groups. It's a shit ton of teams. It's a big tournament. Really excited. Our first game is Thursday. We play like at 8 a.m. and noon. And then Friday, I think we have a game at 10 and noon. Texas A&M is supposed to play. They're playing Friday. They don't know if they're game 1 or game 2. Hopefully they play at 6 so we can make that game. Funny thing about it is Friday's Brittany's birthday. So how excited is she going to be to go to a baseball game on her birthday? She's just fucking thrilled. She's so excited.
Hey, Brittany, this is Carl. This is Ben Mintz. This is Colin. This is a foot long. This is a funnel cake.
Yeah.
Good luck to Texas A&M. Obviously, this is huge news for you because it's your coach making the trip out to Omaha.
It's cool, man. I mean, his first year with the program, Pretty remarkable what he's been able to do. Just really happy for him, happy for their guys. I mean, at the start of the year, they were just expecting to like kind of build momentum moving into like next year. And I think they were the number 5 national seed, to beat a really good Louisville team in the Super. And to walk it off, to be in attendance just for the walk-off. And the kid that hit the 2-run homer, I believe, is in the 7th inning. You know, it was a little guy, 5'8", hitting 250 on the season with 2 homers. And he hits a game-tying 2-run homer. Just kind of one of those, I don't want to say storybook ending because it's not over yet, but as they look back, like that's one of the huge moments that they'll remember. And especially the guy that hit the home run. Just really friggin' cool. And I don't know if you watched any of the other super regional games, but to see Notre Dame do what they did to Tennessee, to knock off the number 1 national seed, which is probably one of the biggest upsets in college baseball history. And that's not a knock against Notre Dame, because if you look at their starting pitching, the arms that they featured, those are big league arms. And some of the few that I've actually seen pitch in and around college baseball this year, I mean, there's been good college pitching, but those were major league arms, and obviously the arms for Tennessee. And to watch what they did, did to Tennessee this weekend was pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, shout out to, there's a good Southside kid, Brannigan, who hit the game. I think the go-ahead home run for Notre Dame. That's a Chicago kid. And then the Notre Dame roster, it's difficult to recruit there because you have a limited number of scholarships. It's very expensive to go there to begin with. They don't have workarounds like some of the other private schools do. And so it's cool to see Notre Dame and these kids because they come from all over. You have like 2 kids from California. You have 3 kids from Pennsylvania, a kid from Florida. And so you know that in college baseball, it is a very regional sport. A lot of these kids on the team, grew up playing in the same kind of circuits together, at least in the same regions, like Southeast region or whatever. You kind of know who these guys are. So we like this Notre Dame storyline, although it does suck. I wanted to see Tennessee in the College World Series. I wanted to see these guys bring energy. They bring a fuckload of fans.
They do.
It would have been awesome.
Well, that's one thing that you notice from watching their games, and they play with, and we talked to Stephen Schock about this. They play with like that kind of fuck you mentality, which is a good thing to play with, but then they kind of have these other kind of variables to it, which they might show up the other team a little bit, which in college baseball, that's something that has happened for a long, long time. And maybe I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but if you watch like what it attracts to their team and to college baseball, it is a good thing. I mean, I heard that like a lot of the Tennessee football teams there, or basketball team, and just the amount of fans that come to see those guys play and play with that energy. And obviously their skill level kind of speaks for itself. So in a certain sense, yes, it's great for the university. It's good for the game, but there's certain things that I don't really like. And look, I think his name's Jordan Beck, the dude that flips off the center fielder when it goes over his head. That to me is kind of where I would draw the line as a coach, but I'm going to let you play and show your attitude and whatever. Like do whatever you want to a certain extent, but you can't deny that it's great for college baseball and obviously for their university, even though they got knocked out by Notre Dame.
Yep. Going to be a huge week. I'm excited for you to see it for the first time.
Yeah, me too, man.
Fan base that come together. It's cool. Arkansas made it too. Arkansas fans are going to travel big. They were the Tennessee last year. Maybe not a clear. They were the heavy number 1 favorite for sure. Not as good as Tennessee was this year, but still, they didn't make it to Omaha. So the Arkansas Razorback fans will be out, and so will the Ole Miss fans. That's going to be crazy. So a lot of that fan bases, crazy fan bases.
And Ole Miss didn't let Southern Miss score a run. No. Pretty impressive.
11-0 and 5-0, I think.
10-0, 5-0.
Okay.
Very close. It's going to be interesting to watch, Auburn, Oregon State. They play game 3. Who else? There's one more that has to play.
UConn, Stanford.
Let's go, UConn.
Obviously, Arkansas, got past North Carolina. And then Texas to lose game 1 and then to win game 2 and game 3. I mean, game 3 was kind of a blowout. They had that delay in like the first inning or second inning, and they've got the best player in college baseball. What did Stephen Schock call him? The Hispanic Titanic?
Yeah.
Is that what they call him? Yeah.
Melendez.
And Melendez. He's hitting 396 or 398 with 32 homers and 94 RBIs. to have 94 RBIs in a college season, I mean, that's just absurd. Right?
And the RBI is still alive. I have a thing. We're going to talk RBIs. The RBI, to me, is still alive. This Melendez dude, he is, when he comes to the plate, like all the Texas fans just stop talking, and it just goes dead silent at the park. He had a couple bombs last year in Omaha. Very big guy, very impressive team. They pitch it well. Every year, Texas pitches well, and they play good defense. And then if you can throw a couple of these middle of the order bats like Melendez, you'll get some. You get some, obviously, some great results throughout the year. It's good to see Texas back.
It is. And then real quick on one more thing on Melendez. I think he was drafted last year. I don't know if he's a senior this year, but like, I mean, he's got to have major league potential. Like you're not putting up that kind of offensive production and not being fairly high on the charts, right? I'm not familiar with his history, but just watching what he's done this year, it's like, damn, that should be a big league bat, right?
You'd think so. He's 22 years old. I think he's got a junior college in his background. Like I said, last year he slugged 603, and I think he was first team All Big Ten last year. This year he's slugging 886. Holy shit. 6'3",
That's a big
230.
league bat. It should be a big league bat. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the big leagues, if you want it, I got a little 2-minute roundup we can get into, and I got some stuff for you before we get back to the mailbag and some more college stuff.
Let's fire away. Yeah, let's fire away.
Colin, music, please, and shot clock. Okay, let's sprinkle the infield here, guys. The Marlins had a team meeting last week. We talked about it. They're 5-1 since, and Jazz Chisholm seems to be fucking awesome. It's team meeting season, though, and that means the White Sox probably have one coming. The fired Tony chants over the weekend were outrageous, and rightfully so. Tony La Russa issued a 1-2 intentional walk to Trey Turner, which is probably the worst intentional walk in recorded history. Absolutely disgusting. Max Muncy follows up a 3-run bomb and calls him like a motherfucker, suck my dick or something. We'll get to that. The Phillies and Braves are 20-1 in the month of June combined. That's 20-1, while the Padres aren't playing any games this month either, except for tic-tac-toe last night. You guys saw it was a lovely little game. They're half a game back from the Giants half a game back in first place after the Giants got swept by the Dodgers. That's a fuck up on my part. Let's keep it rolling. That's right. The Dodgers' week schedule starts to creep up on them. And speaking of creeping, how creepy is Matt Carpenter's mustache? Can we talk about the girth on this for a second?
Yeah, well, it's a great stash.
Gorgeous.
It's a great stash.
It's a gorgeous stash.
It is a good stash, and I guess that they're calling. They got the Mario and Luigi going for Hector
Cortez.
and for Cortez and Carpenter. So I mean that's a good look, and he's got what is six of his 8 or 6 of his 10 hits or homers.
Yeah, there's something in the water with the New York Yankees, and needless to say, Matt Carpenter's fucking drinking it. They massacred the Cubs. He's fucking hot, man. So is Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge picked up about 6% of the Cubs from Tom Ricketts, or at least a very small piece of our souls over this weekend, bashing 28-5. Jose Ramirez, also speaking of bashing, Jose Ramirez is on pace for 170-something RBIs, and I do want to talk about RBIs and his trend. Also, Walker Buehler's on pace to miss the next 2 months. That's bad. So Jose Ramirez good, Walker Buehler bad timing for Joe Madden. He had to cut his mohawk, then got fired. He probably would have liked to know one before.
You think he still has it?
Yeah, for sure.
He's still rocking it.
Like, I think Joe's doing it because Joe knows he can't. Like, if Joe shaves it, then they win. Like, to him, it's like, I'm keeping the mohawk, babe. Like, he's doing that. Clint Frazier, by the way, got DFA'd 24 hours after saying nice things about the Cubs. That's so they could hang on to Jason Hayward. We got another cycle. I'm done talking about cycles, although I do want to talk about Marcus Semien later in the show. And the standings are moving in 2 different directions. There's chaos on the board. The Mets fans are trembling everywhere. The footsteps are coming, Colin.
Yeah, they are. I mean, hey, Mets are it's a 5.5 game lead. But you've got Scherzer and DeGrom probably coming back in the near future. So you got that to look forward to.
I'm not worried. Colin's corner in a bit. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So let's talk. We talked a little bit about Matt Carpenter. He's a new man. I do want to go back. Let's just go back real quick. White Sox, Tony La Russa. And this is just, it's such a tough topic to talk about because they're playing so bad. The injuries are crazy. Michael Kopech turned his ankle. Like pitching the first inning the other day, they had to take him out. It was a crazy game. They ended up losing. They dropped the series to the Rangers. They're 4 games under 500, 6 games out of first place, and the Guardians have officially moved into second place on the AL Central. Like, if you were playing for a Hall of Fame manager and he does something as stupid as walk Trey Turner on a 1-2 count, are you guys, like, at some point, is the clubhouse, do the players, can they, like, not revolt, but is it like, dude, what the fuck? How far can you take this?
Well, at what point do you think that that's a smart play? If you're going to walk the guy, just walk him before the at-bat starts. When you get into a 1-2 count, I mean, who was on the mound? Do you know who was on the mound?
A lefty for the White Sox, I believe, Sousa, Sousa.
I mean, if you're going to let him start the at-bat and he's able to get it to a 1-2 count, and then you say, you know what, fuck it, like I'm just going to, we're just going to walk him. Like, I don't know. Sometimes guys try way too fucking hard. It's like when Madden intentionally walks Seager with to load the bases. And what are you saying to the guy on the mound again? Like, that goes a long way. If you're basically telling this guy, well, your shit's not good enough, you can't get him out. But in this situation with La Russa walking Trey Turner, he already showed he got to a 1-2 count. I don't know, mate. I don't know. He's an old guy. Maybe he just, maybe he panicked. He freaked out. Like, Hall of Fame manager or not, like, that's just a stupid move.
Yeah, and it's like, it's so stupid that it's dumber than Joe Madden walking the bases loaded.
It is dumber. It is dumber because at least Madden did it, before the at-bat started. He didn't. I mean, this actually, sorry for the voice crack, this actually turned out to be a phenomenal move. Schlossnagle brought a reliever in. A right-handed pitcher was in. 3-2 count, pulls the reliever, puts in a lefty, 3-2 count, slider, swing, and miss. So that's a little bit different story, I guess. But, to intentionally walk a guy when he's in a 1-2 count, fuck, man, what's Turner hitting? He's hitting 300. He still gets out a lot. I mean, what was the score at the game at the time?
It was like somebody had to tell him, like, hey, Trey Turner's good against lefties in the middle of the at-bat. Like, Max Muncy isn't hitting well this year, and he's not doing well against lefties this year. Like, do you think maybe we should just put Trey Turner on? And it's just funny to think like that.
So fucking what if he's hitting lefties well? Like, that's why I hate the computer. I hate some of these analytics because humans still have to go out there and do the job.
Yeah.
Human beings still have to execute or not execute. It's not just X's and O's in the computer, ones, 2s, and 3s. So, stupid move by Tony. Really stupid.
They got problems, man. They got problems. They won the series against the Rays. They should have lost it. They came back last Saturday. They won that game. Then they won on Sunday. And there was a lot of momentum with the White Sox. And you're hoping that they can catch. Like, White Sox fans are really, really trying to hoping that this is going to turn around. And, like, you have Kopech going to win a series yesterday. He throws 13 pitches. He rolls his ankle on the fucking mound, like landing in the first inning.
I've seen it before.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen it before. Or a guy taking his first step towards first or a bunt towards third base. Yeah, just weird shit can happen. And for whatever reason, sometimes it seems like when a team isn't playing all that well or not playing up to their potential, weird things like this happen. And sometimes on a consistent basis, like, a guy gets sick, or like with Kopech, a guy rolls his ankle, or Tony La Russa fucking intentionally walks a guy in a 1-2 count, like dumb shit like that. So for whatever rhyme or reason, like, it seems like shit rolls downhill sometimes and you just can't stop it.
Like we said earlier in I think it was last episode or the one before that, like, it's just team meeting season, so you're going to hear some more stuff. I would imagine the White Sox are going to have some closed-door meetings this week. Quite a few.
You would think so, or maybe even if you don't hear about it, you might see a guy like Abreu or somebody just quietly call a team meeting that no one knows about, not even the manager or the coaching staff. They do it in the weight room, or they do it, maybe away from the field. Just like, hey guys, like, what are we doing? We know we have the ability to perform better than we are. And not that sometimes guys get a little complacent. It happens. Guys get a little complacent. Not that it's okay. It's definitely not okay, especially when you're on a team that's 6 games back and you're trying to gain ground on a Guardians team or the Twins who aren't going to slow down. You need to kind of kick yourselves in the ass and start to move forward. And it's not going to get any easier. I mean, we're getting into the, starting to kind of creep towards the middle of summer, and teams are going to go on these stretches where they're going to play 18, 20, 22 games straight at times. And it's an absolute grind to go through that. So maybe it takes a veteran guy like Abreu to get the boys going, because we all know that they have the roster to win more games than they are. Yeah.
No, it certainly is a good club, and I think this is what I'm zeroing in on the month of June. The AL Central is very interesting to me. We have some awards we're going to give out, but first, last quick little headline for you to awards and standings update. Did you see the Padres and the Rockies? The pitchers were playing tic-tac-toe against each other last night. Would you ever fuck around like that, Jake?
I heard about it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily bother me all that much, because you've seen first basemen do stuff like that, right? Like write a message, or I think first baseman have played tic-tac-toe before, or whatever it is. Right. In the big leagues, you're pretty good about separating, being friendly and competing. So I don't really have a problem with it. It doesn't necessarily matter. I'm sure that they knew each other, or maybe they didn't, but you're not going to go out there and be less aggressive and less intense once you toe the rubber. Even if if you lose tic-tac, who gives a fuck?
If the starting pitcher gets pulled early, do you think the relievers are now continuing that game of tic-tac-toe?
They could, or you could just have a reliever that comes in that says, "Fuck this shit! I can't believe you guys are doing this," and just clears the whole fucking board with 1 foot. And then, because relievers, like a lot of those guys come in after slamming 6 shots of espresso, a couple 5 hours of Red Bull, and they're fuming. Like they're not ready for fucking tic-tac-toe. They're ready to shove it up somebody's ass and get in the clubhouse and have a beer. You know what I mean? Like they're not about that tic-tac-toe shit.
So get a Bob Howery coming out to the mound playing tic-tac-toe. Hey, speaking of games, you guys might want to go check out some Major League games, and that's why I want to tell you about our good friends over at Game Time. They're the exclusive ticketing app at Barstool Sports, and they make it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. It's possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on seats you thought you could never buy. I'm very interested this week using some Game Time early in the week. We got the Padres in town at Wrigley. Then obviously we're out at the College World Series. I'll be messing around the Game Time app, and that's because the purchase process is so quick and easy. And once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone, and you can easily share tickets with friends via text. Download the Game Time app, go to the account tab to create a login, and redeem code STARTING9 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but that's $20 off your first purchase if you redeem code STARTING9. Download Game Time, last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Go to a ball game on me and Jake. Go to a ball game on Starting9, $20 off your first purchase.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I used it for the first time when we were in Arlington going to the Rangers game. Coaches were asking me about tickets. I said, hey, check out the Game Time app. And sure enough, I believe they saved like $30 or $40. So it's an absolute must.
Can we do some awards real quick?
Yeah. Which one do you want to do?
I'm going to give out the Dude of the Week award, and I'm going to give the Dude of the Week to Byron Buxton, who is, the only reason he's not the clear-cut most valuable player in baseball is because Aaron Judge is putting on a just murderous clinic in New York. If he wasn't, just the amount of love that would be going to Byron Buxton, or if he played somewhere other than Minnesota. They're 35 and 20-something. They're in strong command of the Central. This dude this week hit 5 bombs. He's all over the place. His isolated slugging, which is what we talk about, like what percentage of your hits go for extra bases, was like 750 this week. He's got the Twins rolling, and you just play with so much confidence. He truly is like an impact player defensively. He's an impact bat with power, and he seems like the type of guy that gets everybody around him. You just play a little bit better because he's in the lineup, and you play next to him, or whatever the fucking thing is. He makes guys better.
And he's totally, like, just his transformation from where he was like 5 or 6 years ago. and to see him just bust onto the scene recently and become this type of player, because everybody knew it was in there, and you're just kind of waiting, like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And just like a tremendous amount of credit to him and, his support system, the people around him, the people in the, in the Twins organization for, because it takes more than one guy, right? It's hard to do it all on your own. So, just a lot of credit to all the people around him that kind of helped him become this guy. And, he probably deserves the most credit, obviously, because he's the one doing it. But it's just great for the game and, amazing to see what he's doing. And, what is it, 313, weighted runs created plus in the 6 games with 5 homers. That's outstanding. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you're basically getting like 2 more play. It's like you're basically playing with like 2 more players at 313.
Yeah.
Like he's just absolutely on fire, and it's good to see. As we go back to the White Sox, that Central, that should be a good, especially with Cleveland's kind of coming on now a little bit. Jose Ramirez, we'll talk about him in a second, but like as they're coming on, like this could be one of those divisions along with the NL West that we have our eyes on deep into the season. That's what I very much hope for. That's one of my favorite parts about the season is you're just like mid-September and you're looking at the next 10 games for like 6 different clubs and you're like, man, if they go 7-3 and they go 8-2, and I think we're gonna get that with the AL Central unless Byron Buxton keeps us up. Then who fucking knows? So
sure, yeah, and I hope the Judge stays healthy. I hope they all stay healthy because it's just great for the game of baseball. But some things can happen, and Buxton could end up being the MVP, or it could be somebody else. That's the beauty of it. It's like we think we know what's going to happen, and then players or a team goes on runs like look at the Braves and the Phillies, and a team loses 10, 12 in a row or 13 like the Angels, and shit completely flips. So it's just, that's one of my favorite things about baseball is that like you feel like you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on, and then 2-3 weeks go by and like the entire story changes.
I got to ask you, this isn't one-off. I've been waiting for if it comes up, I'll ask you. You finished 6th in MVP voting one season. Do they give you anything for that? Do you get like an award, like top 10 MVP voting or anything?
No, I didn't get shit for it, and I don't even necessarily think you should. Maybe a few bucks or something would be nice, but no. That's okay. I mean, I guess that's kind of like when a youth soccer league or whatever kids sports, like the teams that don't win, they all get a trophy too. So no, but it's cool that I got some votes. Pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah.
So wait, are you saying you don't hang Cooper's participation trophies in that like glass case?
We don't hang any of them, really. We don't hang, like, what's cool about baseball now, or at least the leagues that he plays in, they get rings. They don't get trophies. And I think that the kids like those a lot more. So it's pretty cool. And I remember all the trophies that I had. Some were like huge and some are small, whatever, and they're all up on like your dresser. And then, I move out of the house. It's like, what the fuck do you do with all these trophies? At least with rings, they're small enough to where even if you have 15 or 20 of them, it's not taking up a ton of space. And the kids like the rings. I think it's just a way cooler thing to have than a trophy. Mm-hmm.
It's good insight.
Pretty sweet, yeah.
As Colin and I are, like one of these days, Colin and I will be dead, so this is good stuff to know. You have an award for nutsacks.
We got the biggest bag of the week. We got to go with Semien. He had 1 homer in his first 47 games. He's got 5 in his last 11 games. And we've talked about this a lot. We know that Marcus Semien is a guy who, once he gets hot, he just stays on fire for a while. Hopefully for him that he can maintain the way he's swinging the bat. He looks a lot better in the box. He's 10 for 29 this week with 4 extra base hits. And his OPS is, what is it? I think it's 1.218, which is pretty friggin' good. And the Rangers are starting a huge series at home tonight against the Astros. And that's always a series that I love to watch. Being from Texas, growing up a Rangers fan, there's that. It's kind of, it's not as aggressive or as like the Dodgers San Francisco series, but there's a tremendous amount of pride amongst Rangers fans and Astros fans. So it's gonna be a really fun series to watch, especially if you're in Texas or you're just a fan of either of those teams. A lot of trash talking, but Texans they're a little bit more low key when it comes to like violent altercations for sports teams. Fortunately. I don't know if it's that Southern hospitality, but let's hope it stays that way. But again, I mean, the Rangers fans have a lot of, pent up aggression because of how good the Astros have been. So we'll see where the Rangers, stack up against the Astros in that series starting tonight.
Oh, I love that. I love that little preview. I'm going to go one more award. This is the first time we've given this award. This is the Musical Genre of the Week award, and it goes to jazz. Jazz is hot right now. Jazz is very hot if you're not paying attention to jazz. 4 bombs after the team meeting. He struck out 11 of those 24 plate appearances, though, which is – I just love the attitude, getting in the box. I talked to one of his minor league players, a guy who played middle infield next to Jazz for a couple of years in the system. And he was like, dude, the stories about like guys in a locker room telling Jazz that they don't like him and they can't put up with their stuff. He's like, that definitely checks out. But I'll tell you this much. There's no way that guy gives a fuck. There is no way that guy's like, oh, okay, you got it. I'll come back better. Like Jazz just does Jazz. Jazz is doing his own thing. Now, whether that gives him the bag of the week or the dude of the week, it does not. We're not sitting here celebrating this type of individualism or whatever. But as it pertains to a musical genre, jazz is one where, hey, just take it for a ride. Like, see how it feels. Like, no one's judging you when it comes to playing jazz, and no one's going to judge jazz if he's going to play like this. I like this guy a lot. I like the blue hair. I like the flair. I like pissing people off. It's good to me.
Yeah, I like watching him play. I think he's good for the game. And then, to speak about his character or how he is as a teammate, I can't say anything about that. If the team meeting indeed was about jazz, I mean, look, there's going to be assholes out there. You're going to play with guys that you don't like. You're going to, unless he's doing things that are, bringing a tremendous amount of negative attention to your team, or he's just doing things that that don't sit well with the organization, then you have to address those things. But if he's just a dick and he's just, a big personality and he does things different, then you know what? You fucking deal with it. Like there's so many different personalities in a clubhouse from all different backgrounds. There's American guys that are very religious, that are super quiet. There's Latin players that are the exact same, very religious, super quiet. And there's the opposite in the spectrum. There's guys that are very over the top, won't shut up. Guys that do a lot of extracurricular things that might be seen as kind of unsavory to their teammates or people in the organization, but they show up and they work hard and they play good baseball. So there's a lot of personalities you have to deal with. And like I said, if he's going to produce and perform for your team, and I've played with guys like that. You kind of put up with it. You hope that they don't go over the top and bring negative attention to your team. But at the end of the day, if they're performing, it is what it is.
Well said. Well said from someone who's been in the locker room. I'm more looking at it from, I like the entertainment aspect of it. I like the fact that Marlins.
I agree with it. I agree with you on that. Yeah, the entertainment aspect is great, but what you don't see sometimes is how it can be not entertaining in the clubhouse. But if you can do both, if you can be entertaining and put on a show for the fans, and then, behind closed doors, be a good teammate. That's what I don't know if that's what he needs to do, then he needs to do that. But if it's something else that I don't know about, then that's amongst the boys and they need to figure that out amongst themselves. But I would think that there's probably some things going on that just don't sit well with the guys in that Marlins clubhouse. And, if Jazz cares about being as good of a teammate as he can, then maybe he'll take those things into consideration and not change the way he plays on the field. Like fly around, have play with flair. The hair is amazing. The way he wears his uniform's amazing, and he produces. So just maybe he needs to clean some things up, but they're going to have to deal with that internally.
We're just going to We're on the Marlins. We're going to punt on the NL East here. We're going to come back to the NL East. I do want to do a little standings update, but first I want to thank our good friends at Roman. Roman is there for you guys. Obviously, summer days are long. Don't spend it having short sex. This is the time you want to be laying good pipe, these good relationships, these summer flings. And Roman swipes are the secret to longer lasting sex. I can attest to this. I know Colin Cooper can attest to this. They're uniquely formulated to reduce overstimulation without eliminating sensation altogether. So, the thrust getting inside there still feels good, but it's not going to make you just erupt right away. More consistent you are with the swipes, the longer and better sex you will have, and that obviously helps. Studies show that on average, after 1 month of using swipes, men last 3 minutes, and after the second month, 5.5 minutes. That's a 340% increase. That's a lot more sex, guys. You can have it, especially when they're easy to use. Take out the swipe, apply it, let it dry for 5 minutes. Enjoy longer lasting sex. Go to GetRoman.com/starting to get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. Click the link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, or go to GetRoman.com/starting. Just $5 for a monthly plan to start. Go have sex like Jake Arrieta.
Send me some swipes.
Yeah, we will. We'll
out.
get you a box. Yeah.
I'll take a box. We'll give it a shot.
We want to get your personal endorsement on this one. Let's just get in the standings before we go too far on that one. Okay, standings update. I'm going to just throw you a couple softballs. Tell me what you think about this. The AL East for start. I think it's fascinating. The Blue Jays and the Rays have won 35 games, and they're like a legit 9.5 games back. They're out. They're like season's over, and they've won. They're 35 and 23. They're on pace to win like 95 games.
That's something that can be demoralizing too, as a team or to a team when you're still playing pretty damn good baseball. Like you said, 11 games over 500, and you just can't seem to make up any fucking ground on the Yankees. But whatever you have to do to just say, fuck it, put blinders on and keep going out there and playing good baseball, that's really all you can do at this point. And, man, I just I don't feel bad for them because, I love what the Yankees are doing. Just go out there and keep winning baseball games. If you do that, you can feel good about your season at the end of the day, even if you can't catch the Yankees. I mean, because really, what else are you going to do? You're not going to complain about it. I know that the guys in that Toronto clubhouse are probably like, fuck, man, like these Yankees are just really, really good. And all we can do is try and keep pace with them. That's all you can do.
And so, interesting enough, Yankees fans circle this stretch. 3 against Tampa, 3 at Toronto, 3 at Tampa, 4 at home against Houston. Just 13 really solid, tough games. And if the Yankees come out of that with a big stretch, if they're 9-4 over that, it's holy shit, man.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. I mean, and even if they go 500 in that stretch, that would still be fine. They'd probably still be in a good position. Or they of course they'd still be in a good position if they go 500 there.
Hey, we talk a lot about the Indians and why can't the Indians get it going? They're 29-27. Jose Ramirez cannot be stopped. 58 RBIs. He's on pace for 170 something. People say RBIs are dead. I still love them. I don't know why. You talked about runners in scoring position. The Cubs this past week just went 1 for 51 with runners in scoring position. It's a statistic that matters. The heart rate's elevated.
How would they not matter? How are the
right?
That just shows you a guy that can perform in clutch situations. How the fuck is an RBI a dead stat?
Because if you have good players around you and they're on base and they're creating opportunities for themselves, then you inherently have more opportunities to drive runs in.
Yeah, you're okay. Yes. So it kind of goes back to that Nick Markakis situation, right? So if you put him in New York or Boston, all those years in Baltimore, he's got way more RBIs. But still, being in those situations, clutch situations where the game's on the line and you continue to produce and come through, that says a lot about a player, period. It just does. And whether or not the RBI is as important, because I understand that situation also. You have teams where guys aren't going to have the amount of opportunities. I totally understand that. But, championship caliber teams and championship caliber players produce quite often in those situations, and it's just, for me, it definitely matters. I mean, the more runs you score, the more games you're going to win. So it has to mean something somewhere along the line, right?
I think so, because it goes back to, can you deliver? You're the guy in the middle of the lineup. Sure, you're going to have more opportunities if your players are good. But at the end of the day, if you're hitting with runners on second and third and there's 2 outs and, you drive those runs in, someone should be measuring that. And I don't think people are very willing to walk away from the RBI. It's like a tick below starting pitcher wins, where it's like, who cares if the guy won because all these things influence it. It's not that drastic. But there's a lot of new age baseball people that are like, the RBI? That doesn't matter at all. And so I'm going back to Jose Ramirez as a point. If this dude hits 170 fucking RBIs for a team that is wildly underperforming offensively as a whole, he's the only major threat in the lineup. And if he puts up a season like this and you're going to turn a blind eye, it's like, no, that's literally the only guy who is doing and driving in the damage throughout the season. But I do understand the turning point. Someone's to say, this guy's more valuable than this player because of RBIs. I don't know if you can make that stretch, but.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with that. Sure. And the new numbers and advanced metrics could make the RBI less valuable, but we all know how you win baseball games. You got to drive in runs. You got to cross the plate.
We've already talked about the AL West. We've spent a lot of time this season talking about the Angels and kind of like, obviously them firing Joe. Now the Rangers are moving a little bit. They're trying to get back to 500, but like we said, the Astros are a wagon. So let's just move on and let's just go to the NL Central. Did you see the Brewers only have a +5 run differential? They're down to second place. They're a half game out of first place against the Cardinals. The Brewers just lost a series to the Nationals, that's tough. That's tough. Very tough.
Yeah, but that's something that can kind of add fuel to the fire, and you kind of realize like, hey guys, we kind of fucked up here. At the same time, on the other side of that, the Nationals, they have the ability to win baseball games too. I mean, it's still a Major League Baseball team, and sometimes that's what people forget. And one of my good friends, his son Grayson is Cooper's one of his best friends, and he's a diehard Dodgers fan. And they got swept by the Pirates, and he's freaking out about that. And I go, look, man, like it's still a big league baseball team. A team can get hot for 3 or 4 games, and they can sweep anybody. That's how it goes. It's not likely, but at the end of the day, the guys on the other side get paid a lot of money. Maybe not as much as the Dodgers, obviously, but they're still getting nice paychecks. So for the Brewers to lose that series, maybe it's it's a kick in the balls, but they'll bounce back. I mean, they're a great team. I don't think it's going to faze them at all.
Yeah, our college pitching coach used to have to say that, those fucking guys practice too.
They do. Yeah. They play hard. They're going to play hard. And those guys in Washington, they've got a lot to prove.
Meanwhile, Dodgers' strength of schedule is starting to come back and bite them in the ass. They look normal. The Padres are coming for that ass. The Giants, you brought up the sweep. Like, the NL West is the gift that keeps on giving to baseball fans.
It's so good. It's so good. And, Walker being out for what is it, like probably 3 months, 2-3 months, or maybe?
Yeah, he's out. Like he's out like 8 weeks, but then he's got to come back, and
it's gonna be.
I don't
a
think
while.
it's
like
8 weeks
he might
to
not
Major League
pitch.
starts. Yeah,
he might not pitch until the very end of the year. And the Padres, their rotate, they got a great rotation. I love the rotation. I love the Giants just as a team. They're just always tough to beat. It's like what they've built over the since when Buster was there and all those really, really great players, and Crawford's still there. They got Belt. Like they've got a really nice team, and they play great baseball. So I think it's the funnest division to watch, and I just really hope that there's 3 teams still fighting it out towards the very end of the year. It just makes for a great finish to the season.
I'm going to say somebody's name for the first time all season on this show, and I would like to apologize to Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove in 11 starts has a 1.5 ERA, 72 innings pitched, 51 hits surrendered, 72 strikeouts. He's pitched very well. He's pitched when they give him the ball. He just goes out and dominates.
Yeah, I mean he's a fucking big stud. He's a horse. He works extremely hard. I got to be around him just for a brief period of time and saw him pitch. When he was in a different uniform, but just being able to be up close and kind of get to know him a little bit. He's a great dude, amazing teammate. And this is the kind of guy that he's blossoming into. He's going to be an all-star. And he's one of the reasons the Padres are doing what they're doing. And hopefully if they can get, guys like Snell and Mania and all these guys to stay healthy, dude, it's a tough series for anybody.
Tatis back, I think, for the second half.
Yeah. Just imagine how many more, wins he would have created for this team. I mean, really, it just sucks. Obviously, he wasn't trying to get into an accident or do whatever he did, but man, and I like Tatis. I think everybody does. But if you're in that clubhouse, it's like, fuck, man. Like, you're thinking how much better we'd be if he was in our lineup.
I do want to talk about the NL East, but real quick, shout out to Manny Machado. This is a guy who just, like, for whatever reason, people hate his guts. He's got a bad reputation from public perception-wise, I should say, as being a guy who just kind of doesn't really care. This guy plays every single day. Every single day since he signed this. I shouldn't say every day, but he has played so many games for the Padres since they signed him. I think it's like 98.5% of all games the Padres have played. Machado's been in the lineup for him. And he's having just an absolute monster season.
He's a pure hitter. He's a phenomenal defender. He's a grinder. He posts every day. That's what he wants to do. He does it for his teammates, and he has he's grown up a lot, and I've talked about it at length before. He got to play for Buck Showalter, and Buck was like a father figure to a lot of us. Manny was one of those guys. Buck really loves Machado. And yeah, it's no surprise he's doing what he's doing. What is he hitting, like 330? I don't know. He's probably a little lower in the home runs than would be expected, but the guy just puts the barrel on the ball very often, and he's a stud. I mean, the Padres got a really good one.
All right, we got it. I've been holding this one back. The NL East is becoming, and this is our last little division roundup here. I can't say enough good things about the NL East. Colin, you got to be shitting your pants right now. The Phillies and the Braves combined for a 21 record so far to start June. I'm just going to give it over to Colin for the Colin's Corner. You guys are down to, I think, a 5.5 game lead. You got to be a little nervous, buddy.
No, I'm not nervous at all. I think everyone needs to pump the brakes and chill the hell out, okay? Let me break it down to you right here. The Mets just wrapped a stretch of 22 games in 23 days, okay? 16 of those games were played in the Mountain Pacific time zones, and overall they went 14-8 right there. So this team is doing exactly what they need to do, and they just did it in a very, very difficult part of their schedule. The Phillies and Braves are hot right now, but did I ever think that they were just going to roll over with 100 games left and die and let the Mets win the division by like 25 games? No. They're played cupcake schedule, the same thing the Mets were playing earlier in the season. You got to play the people on your schedule, but it's like people are overreacting right now. Let me give you a little perspective, okay? May 18th was when Max Scherzer was hurt. The Mets were 6 games up. We're now 23 games later since then, and we're up 5.5. So I don't know why everyone is freaking out about how like the Mets just blew this lead. We're still 5.5 is still a lot of games. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. This team is built to last. And most importantly, again, they're doing it without Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. So they're back home right now. Good news for Mets fans with the 100 games left. Only 3 of these start after 7:10. So your sleep schedule is going to go back to normal. Life is good in Mets land. We still have a commanding lead, and this team is built to last. So no worries over here.
Well said.
Good. I was getting nervous there that our Mets correspondent was somewhat nervous about the fact that the Phillies and the Braves are starting to catch fire a little bit. But if you're confident, Colin, I'm confident.
If you have to win 10 games in a row to get over 500 in mid-June, then I think that's a bigger issue for your team than what I should be worrying about.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a flash in the pan. You never know. I mean, maybe that's the best they can possibly play. We'll see how it turns out for Philly, but I mean, the Braves they're battle tested, so we'll see.
Like I said, I didn't think the Braves are going to roll over. I'm not worried about the Phillies. I think the Phillies are still 8.5, 9.5 out, something like that. But the Braves have their West Coast trip coming up next week, and we got a big couple series against the Marlins coming up, who we have yet to really play at all this season. So the Mets have a lot easier second half coming up. So there's no panic over here from me.
Let's talk panic for a second. I know Red Sox fans were panicked earlier in the season. I do want to call out one particular pitcher that he had a bad game on Saturday, but he's recently stepped up and he's been eating some starts for the Red Sox. He then threw a complete game shutout in his second to last start. It's Michael Wacha. This guy seems to have been around baseball for so long. He was a big college name for us, Jake, Texas A&M guy, fastball, changeup. exploded on the scene with the Cardinals when he came out. I want to say he pitched in the 2013 World Series with them in the Red Sox, was a guy who kind of slid in underneath Wainwright. He's now finding it again. I don't know what the evolution here seems like. He's picked up a sinker to go with a cutter. He's throwing that against his four-seam fastball, and his changeup usage is 31%. It's the highest it's been in his career. He's always been an interesting guy to me because he hasn't been like a spin guy, fastball, slider, curve, but just more like fastball, changeup, and he's had a lot of success. It's interesting to me with this Red Sox team if he can be like a solid 3 for the next 2 months and kind of eat some stuff up. This is a guy. Did you guys pitch against each other in high school?
We did.
Or did you know about him in college?
No. I didn't. We pitched against each other for the first time in the big leagues, and he was really good early on, and then he had a couple years where he struggled. I think he was an all-star in 2015. So he's just he's had some things that he's dealt with. He probably had 2 or 3 years in there where he just he couldn't develop any consistency. But now, I mean, he's 10 starts in. He just threw a shutout, and he's got an ERA of 2.3. There's a chance he's an all-star, and that's only gonna help his confidence. I mean, it seems like he's really starting to figure some things out. And like you said, it feels like he's been around for a long, long time. I think this is probably his 9th or 10th season, and he's only 30 years old. So I mean, he's gonna pitch for a long time. So, happy for him. And Boston really needs him because, Pavetta's been, inconsistent. They've had some inconsistencies there. So he's, I don't want to say he has to pitch exactly like he is now, but, in order for them to do anything, I mean, he's got to be pretty damn good.
Yep. Doors open for him, though. He's going to continue to get starts for the Red Sox. That's cool. The other pitcher I want to bring up, too, this is kind of off the top of my head because we're talking fastball changeup. Alcantara from the Marlins, Sandy, he's leading the league with almost 84 innings pitched through 12 starts. That's about 7 innings per start. The guy's a fucking beast. I'm sorry, I gotta watch my language. But once we get going
he is
on
a
this
beast,
stuff,
man.
He's just so. I mean, here's the last couple starts out: 8 innings, 3 hits; 9 innings, 6 hits; 8 innings, 4 hits; 7 innings, 3 hits; 9 innings, 6 hits. He doesn't walk a ton of guys either. He's only walked 5 guys in his last 5 starts.
Yeah, no, he's a horse. He knows what he's doing. I mean, he's and his numbers throughout his career are pretty damn good. I mean, his first couple years, I think he might have had a 4 and then like a mid-3, couple mid-3s, and then low 3s. Now he's got ERA that's about 1.5 in 12 starts. So I mean, this guy, this is the kind of guy he is. It's no surprise. His stuff is elite. He's got multiple plus off-speed pitches and a fastball that's mid to upper 90s. Can probably touch triple digits still, and they have a few guys like that, which is scary. Like if they can dial in 3 of these guys, and then add like a 4th or 5th starter who's serviceable, I mean, then they can be really, really good. But yeah, I mean, Sandy's just he's a freak.
Yeah, they just have – I mean, they got so many one-run losses here on their record this year, and it's like one of those teams where, if it's not this season, then next season they turn around and they are extremely competitive for a little window there. Like, that wouldn't surprise me in the least bit with the core they have.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's been a struggle for the Marlins for years. I mean, it seems like they've always been in this rebuilding phase. Like, hey, when are you going to be good? And it's tough when you're in a division with teams like the Mets and the Braves. It can be hard, especially for young players when it seems like you're trying to learn on the fly at the big league level. It's just not easy to do. Some guys pan out, most guys don't. So I mean, you swing and miss on certain guys you bring to the big leagues and you develop and you think they're going to be in your rotation or your lineup for years to come, and it just doesn't work out. But and that happens. That's not making any excuses for the Marlins because it happens with every team in every organization. But I hope that they can put together a really nice roster eventually because I'd like to see a good Marlins team.
Amen. Wild Card City too. Keep your eyes peeled on the wild card. We come back on Thursday's episode. I'll have some stuff for you guys on the wild card. I thought it would be good, though, to finish with a little mailbag here. We went extended mailbag a couple episodes. I do have a couple of questions, though, from Jake that our readers have sent in. Jake, if you're comfortable.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. The first question, this is a road trip question. This is from, again, Eddie in Hiawatha Park, very loyal listener. Thank you, Eddie. Eddie says, Dear Jake and Carl, I'm a huge road trip enthusiast. Anytime I can get in the car with the boys for longer than 5 hours is a time I certainly cherish. Jake, you are driving from Austin up to Omaha, Nebraska. This is going to be a long road trip in a rented Sprinter van. Good call, by the way. I always rent when I'm driving more than 5 hours. I'm curious, when you stop at the convenience store, what's in your top 3 to 5 snacks or oral fixations when you make a long drive?
That's such a good question. It will kind of depend on my mood at the time, and if I'm driving. If I'm not driving, I'll definitely have a pint of ice cream. And road trips are kind of the time where I'll let loose one of the times. Yeah. I'll let loose on road trips. And you know when it started? Well, it probably started in Little League when we travel to Oklahoma or to Houston or Louisiana or different states for tournaments, like stopping with your parents and your teammates. Yeah, you just load up, whatever they'll let you buy, right? So, and then transition to in the minor leagues when we would take sleeper buses in the middle of the night. Say we're going from Norfolk, Virginia to Gwinnett, Georgia. You know, we're driving through the middle of the night. We stop at like 2, 3 in the morning. We wake up from our nap and we just load up. We get like ice cream, beef jerky. I used to like Gardettos. I don't like them as much anymore. Definitely Reese Cups. Reese Cups is, I think, probably right now my number one like candy. I'm not overly big on sweet candy, like sour stuff. I don't mind it, but it's always chocolate, like I'd say a Snickers ice cream bar, or like a king size Reese Cups, which is 4 of them. And you got to mix in some protein, so probably some like beef jerky, and then like some chips, like let's see, like a salt and vinegar chip. So those
salt and
4.
vinegar is my number one chip, so that's a good chip.
It is number one. It is. It goes so good with sandwiches too. So good. Yeah.
So will you throw in a dip at all? Will Mama say, "Hey,
not
dip
anymore"?
That out, or?
No, not anymore, man. I mean, as you know, like I've been on these nicotine little disposable pens, and I stopped dip 3 years ago, and I told her for her birthday I was gonna. Well, she told me, she's like, you need to stop those nicotine pens, and I'm going to. I'm gonna do it. I've done it before. It's just time to stop. I don't need any more. I don't like that my kids see me doing it. I do it too much, but no more dip. I stopped that, and I've had no desire, thankfully.
Yeah, dip's a habit. That's a habit.
Yeah, and I don't blame anybody for doing it. I get it. I did it for 13 years. It was just my time to give it up.
This is a question from Michael from Oak Lawn for Jake. Dear Jake, I went to Omaha for the first time last year with very low expectations and turned out to have the absolute best time of my life. I'm curious, in your life, not just in baseball, but across life, what are some random places that turned out to be way more fun and exciting than you originally anticipated?
Oh, that's a good question. Oklahoma City. I had some fun in Oklahoma City. Yeah, didn't expect much there. But turned out to be quite a bit of fun. Kind of like a miniature boardwalk like in San Antonio. Fun city. Good restaurants, fun nightlife. Good basketball team also. Des Moines, Iowa. You know, I didn't really have any expectations. I didn't know what Des Moines was going to be like, but when I got traded to the Cubs, I went there for a few weeks and really had a great time. Love the area. Walked around a lot. The street art was phenomenal. You know, like I was just walking, late at night when I got in town by myself, and you'll see like on the sides of buildings just like these huge murals of like abstract art and different caricatures of historical people. So I love that about Des Moines. And then Zombie Burger, I went to Zombie Burger 2 or 3 times a week while I was there. Great beer on tap. Obviously the burgers are really, really good. So yeah, Oklahoma City and Des Moines, just 2 off top of my head that were way better than I expected.
I'm gonna throw one in the mix here, and I'm gonna throw Boise, Idaho into the mix.
I've never been.
I played a summer league there going into my senior year of college. And the only reason I went to the summer league was because I was like, oh, summer in Boise sounds crazy awesome. Like bunch of guys, Northwoods League, and they're playing in Central Illinois, and I think there's like the Great Lakes League and the one out in North Carolina. I wasn't going to the Cape. I wasn't going to the Northwoods League, but I could have played in those like sub leagues. And then our coach was like, hey, there's this new league in Boise, Idaho, and there's no travel. So we're going to do 8 teams on one college campus, and you guys are just going to play games on that college field. So you guys live in dorms together. You guys can train together. It's kind of a different college league they were starting. So I was just interested because I was, that sounds way different than what everybody else is doing. And so I got to Boise, Idaho. I fell in love with it. I mean, fell in love with it. Outdoor rock climbing, the bar scene, and everybody's good looking in Boise. Everybody's handsome and pretty because you have to walk everywhere and kayak and bike. So literally
active lifestyles.
Everyone's fit. It's crazy.
That's cool. I haven't been. I'd love to go. The only thing I really know about Boise is that their football field's blue, which I don't like. I'm not a fan of that at all. But hey, did you? I always wanted to. And look, you can't play in multiple summer leagues, but I wanted to go to Alaska, that Alaskan league, or in Hawaii. They had that one for a while. I don't know if they still have those, but I feel like that would have been a blast. I mean, Alaska might have been weird, being like day for like 23 hours or something. I don't know if I would have slept very well. But did you know anybody that ended up playing in that one?
Yeah, I had a good buddy, Ryan Hastings, our first baseman, second baseman, went out there. The big old soft body went out there, played in the midnight game where it's not really midnight though. I think you play at 2:00 because the sun does really only disappear for like a half hour. I was in Alaska for a wedding a couple of years ago. It's gorgeous. Alaska, gorgeous. Actually, I'll tell you this. You'll like this. I met a homeless guy in Alaska. The first night I go in there, I'm in some gas station, like whatever. A homeless guy comes up to me, starts talking to me. We strike up a conversation. I say, why would I remember this conversation? 3 days later, me and the guys we went out for this wedding are on some hike in this glacier. We drive an hour and a half north, and we go to some glacier we're hiking. We pull over to a convenience store, and the same homeless guy is at that convenience store. And he's like, how's your trip in Alaska? And I was like, no fucking way. And it was the same
how far from where you saw him?
Hour and a half.
Oh man, he was on your tail. He's following you, dude.
And he goes, keep in mind, boys. He tells us to the group of guys when he's leaving. He goes, keep in mind, boys, the beaten path is for the beaten man. And we still text each other as a joke, like, hey, beaten path for the beaten man. Really weird experience, but
he might have wanted to wear y'all's skin.
I have the type of skin you'd want to wear. It's very soft and like it reacts.
I wouldn't put this out there as much, you know. Keep that to yourself.
Do you have good skin?
I have olive skin. I tan very easily. I don't burn very, very well. So yeah, I like my skin. It's a little bit more like rugged though. It's soft, but like I'm outdoors a lot. You know, I'm swinging axes and walking through brush, so I have to have a little bit more weathered skin to kind of handle that. I feel like you would cut pretty easily.
Yeah, I do. I slice. Like if we were going into if we had surgery tomorrow, we were both having labrum surgery, the surgeons would be like, we much prefer to make incisions on this man's skin. They'd point at me.
Okay.
Last question. This is actually a very detailed question from a reader in our audience named Kevin. He's looking for your opinion. Dear Carl, I would love to get Jake's take on a guy named Billy Rowell, 9th overall pick by Baltimore in 2006. The guy was an absolute freak and never got out of A-ball. A 6'5" shortstop who had a hose and hit for power from the left side. His struggles apparently also made Mike Trout fall in the draft because he grew up in the same area and scouts had a hard time looking at other guys from his high school for fear of getting another bust. That's interesting because his New Jersey high school has 2 current big league starters in Zach Gallen and Devin Smeltzer, amongst many other minor league baseball players. I'm curious.
This is amazing you're asking me this.
The player developments. Why?
Go ahead.
This is a real. Kevin Casey wrote this question. The player development side.
Kevin Casey. If that's the same one, he was our clubby in Norfolk.
I'll look it up. Yeah, I'll see. Yeah, his name's Kevin Casey. Wrote me a long email and was like, "I'm enjoying the show."
Billy Rowell's legendary for some not so good reasons. And when we were talking about Jazz Chisholm, you know, I was thinking about, you know, maybe he's had altercations with teammates. And if you remember the name Pedro Beato?
No.
Okay, so he's a starting pitcher, term reliever. Like, he bounced around a little bit, but he's a big dude. And he was a first rounder, I think, the year before I was drafted. So I think he was a first rounder with Baltimore in 2006. And, you know, through like mid to upper 90s. You pitch okay for a little bit, but he ended up not playing anymore. When I was in Philly, I'm getting a little off track, but when I was in Philly, Pedro Beato was cutting hair for the players. So I was like, what are you doing? Like, this is crazy. So, you know, so Pedro Beato was probably 6'6", like 250, 260, big dude. Billy Rao's probably 6'5", 225, not a small guy. And, you know, Billy would get under people's skin all the time, just religiously. And him and Beato one day just went at it, and Pedro like beat the shit out of him in the locker room. And that's one thing. And then so Billy was notorious for having to always go take a shit after he would hit BP, because he didn't want to shag BP. So he'd be like, I'm going inside, going to take a shit. So like, you know, days and days and like weeks of this go by. And Billy's like, hey, I'm going in and take a shit. And the coaching staff was like, no, you're shagging. You're staying out here. So what did Billy do? Billy took a shit in center field.
No.
He took a shit in center field. Yes, yes. He's like, you don't believe me? I'm going to take a shit right here. So, and I doubt he was going inside to take a shit every time, but it just worked out perfectly that he had a boiler going and he was ready to take a shit. So he's like, fuck it, I'm going to take a shit here in center field. This guy, so like, Drew Stubbs, first rounder. Fuck, who was Drew Stubbs drafted by?
Texas, Cincinnati Reds.
So, okay, there you go. So Billy was drafted before we got to look that up. I think he was drafted right before Stubbs. And like, we saw, like, I heard this story. Billy was at the beach and like Stubbs was there or whatever. And he like was saying something like, you know, some about how he was picked before him and just kind of really fuck with him. Like, weird. Like, yeah, they didn't want you. They wanted me. Yeah. Like, whatever. He's just one of those guys that would always start shit. He had a very punchable face. I never had a problem with him. I didn't talk to him much. But yeah, Billy didn't have a great reputation. He considered himself as good of a hitter as Barry Bonds. And in high school, he was. Like, you watch his tape, like, this guy was unbelievable. He was hitting balls, 500 feet. And then he didn't like to work hard. He didn't listen to, constructive criticism. And he ended up not sticking around very long.
Yeah, and you can see, like, if I pull up his minor league card and, like, the numbers aren't bad. It's not bad enough where it's like this guy never got going. He was actually, like, he if you look at the minor league numbers, it's like, okay, this checks out for a high school middle infielder with power developing and stuff. That's a crazy story. And Kevin Casey being your buddy from Norfolk, it's got to be the guy.
That's the same Casey. Yep. That's Casey. Yeah. Oh, he was a colorful character as well. I think there were a couple of times where we came home from road trips and he was asleep, passed out on the couch with a bottle of black velvet in his hand. So long nights in the Norfolk clubhouse.
Does it change then this was just the second part, just quickly. Does it change, like, with the Orioles then, or would other major league teams be less likely to go scout a player from that high school after having a bad experience with them like that, or does that really matter? Like, could Mike Trout be like, I would have gone higher if, Billy Rowell panned out or something?
No, not at all. I mean, I think that it doesn't matter where it's at. If the talent's there, people are gonna show up to check it out. But no, that has no correlation with any player that happens to come through that spot. No way.
Well, good closing point, because it sounds like Billy Rowell would have benefited from playing college baseball and being around those guys for a little bit. Who knows?
Probably so. Yeah, probably so. But look, he didn't want to put in the effort. He didn't. He had so much talent too. He was huge. I mean, he's 6'5". It built very well. He had a nice swing. I just don't think that he really had the commitment to do what it takes to play this game at the major league level.
We'll be back on Thursday morning with some College World Series, more preview stuff about the matchups, what we're going to be getting into that weekend. We also have a pretty cool guest lined up. And when I say pretty cool, I think it's like an up-and-coming, starting pitcher in the big leagues, and the numbers certainly suggest that. No spoilers yet, though. So
Yeah.
Be nice. Guys, how we doing?
Oh, we're doing good. I thought it was a nice show. And if you guys are enjoying it and listening to this, make sure you like and subscribe. And then unsubscribe and resubscribe. Do the boys a favor.
Yeah, we appreciate that, because I said once we get to a certain number of likes, and you're going to start an OnlyFans for us. You're going to do a little starting.
I'll do an OnlyFans.
Channel.
Yeah, well, there was this girl that I went to college with, and I found out she was making like $20,000 a month or $30,000 a month just like by posting photos and videos of her feet. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's some nice scratch for just posting stuff about your feet.
Is that the audience you want to build, though? Do you want to be like, oh, there she goes, she's got the nice feet?
I mean, for the right price, I don't really care what kind of audience I build. I need some walking around cash. I mean, things are getting more expensive. I have a fucking cabin I need to rebuild. So an extra $20,000 a month would help.
Yeah, if you guys know anybody in the area who could help Jake with the cabin costs, obviously don't hesitate to reach out with a more friendly estimate. Until then, hey, great fucking show, boys. We'll be back Thursday morning, like Jake said. Subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, and until then, we'll talk very soon. Thank you guys very much.
Good shit, man.